Hello everyone, my name is Ivo and welcome to Cooking with the Koyas. So glad you could join me because today folks we are going to make stuffed gnocchi. That's right, stuffed gnocchis. Never had them before? Well, you're in for a treat because they are absolutely delicious. Okay, so the first thing we're going to need are potatoes. And I washed these potatoes and I have right here, I'm going to go with, I just weighed these. There's 800 grams of potatoes right here, which is about 28 ounces. And what we have to do is cook these potatoes, boil them, and make like a mashed potato. So we're going to use my ricer. But the first thing I'm doing is I'm just cutting slightly into the skin of the potato and working my way around because as they boil, this will make it easier for them to peel. All right, so now that I have all the skins cut somewhat, I'm going to cover these with water. Perfect. Okay, so quite simply now, this is going on the stove. We're going to boil these potatoes. Depending on the size of your potatoes, it's going to take anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes to boil to get them cooked right through. You could always test them by poking a knife or a fork through the potato. But let's get these on the stove. Okay, so we're just starting to come to a boil now. So these are going to have to, because they're smaller, probably 20 to 25 minutes they should be ready. But again, if you're using bigger potatoes, you need about 30 minutes. All right, it's been actually about 24 minutes, so we should be good to go. Let's get these drained. Okay, run a little bit of water to keep the pipes cool. Oh, okay, let's drain these potatoes. Alrighty. So what we're going to do now is just let these potatoes cool just a little bit, and then we're going to peel them. Okay, let's see if we can get some peeled. They're hot enough, not too hot to touch, but you can see what we did there with that cut, how it's made that potato. It is a little bit warm still. You want them warm because we want to process them warm. So I'm just going to remove the skin from these potatoes. And once I remove the skin, we're going to get another total weight on these potatoes. And I'll explain why we want the total weight of the potatoes as well. Whew, that is hot. But we're going to get these peeled. Okay, and I got my weigh scale here. So let's get that on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to peel these potatoes one by one. Okay. And because I'm removing the skin, our original weight obviously is going to be less now. So I'm going to continue peeling these potatoes and get a total weight, and we're going to go from there. Oh, and sometimes you get lucky and you see a potato like that, and then the skin just comes off like that. See if I can get the other side off. Oh, not quite. Almost. Okay, but that was easy. Let's get that weighed. Okay, so we have 660 grams. So I'm going to make a note of that, which is about 23 ounces. So 660 grams of potatoes. And now, with our ricer, if you don't have a ricer, by all means, I recommend them. They are fantastic, not just for gnocchis, but just for mashed potatoes. And basically, you put the potato in the ricer and then just give a squeeze. And out comes our potato very, very nicely. So, I'm going to pass all of these through. Pass them all through the ricer. Okay, and if you've never seen these work, let's take a little close-up here. We'll put the potato in, and there we have it. And I want all that potato because we weighed it all. I want to make sure we get it all. So now, very, very importantly, this potato needs to cool. It needs to be completely cool before we make our dough. So please do not process these potatoes while they're hot, or you're just going to make mush. You're not going to make gnocchi. So I like to sometimes do this process, get the potatoes mashed in the morning, and then I make my gnocchi closer to dinner time. But I've got a few hours yet, so we're going to let this sit and cool, and then we'll make our dough. Okay, let's get our stuffing going and fire up our stove. So let's start off with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil and 3 tablespoons of butter. Let's get this melted down. Okay, so that's looking good, and today we're going to use a mushroom stuffing, but it's going to be enhanced with onions and spinach. So I have 1 medium to large size onion that I have sliced thin and then diced. So we're going to add the onion, and along with the onion I have here 227 grams, which is 8 ounces of mushrooms. And what I did here is I sliced them thin and then I diced them. So you want them as small as possible, like bacon bit size, nice and small. Okay, and then I have here about 190 grams, which is about 6.7 ounces of spinach that I also grouped together and sliced and then diced. So that's going to be the base for our stuffing. So we're going to cook down this mixture. We're going to add a little bit of salt to taste, and this, folks, is going to make for an amazing, amazing stuffing. Now, when it comes to the stuffed gnocchis, you could use a lot of different stuffings if you'd like, but this one is a classic, so we're going to open up with this one. Okay, let's get this cooked down. Okay, so we're just going to, I give it some salt, and we're just going to let this cook down now. This will start to cook right down, and we also want this to cool down before we use it. So we'll let this finish cooking. So let's start making our gnocchi dough, and the reason we weighed our potatoes is because the ratio of flour to potato is extremely important. So I use, as a general rule, 38% of the weight of potato is what I use in flour. So if I have 100 grams of potato, I use 38 grams of flour. And in today's case, we have 660 grams of potato, so I'm going to use 250 grams of flour. And not just any old flour, I'm going to use a low protein 00 flour. Low protein meaning around 10%. This one here is actually 10%. So there's my low protein flour, 00, which is nice and soft. And you want your gnocchis to be like a nice soft pillowy texture, right? So we're just going to mix a little bit of this together, and now we're going to add our salt. And to be exact, I have 19.8 grams of salt here, which is about 7 ounces. And the reason I say to be exact, it's simple math, really. It's 3% of your potato weight is what you want in salt. So very, very simple math. So now that I have this all together, actually, I'm going to put it on the counter. We're going to do this right on the counter. Okay, and I'll just make a little hole in the middle, and we're going to add 1 egg. So it doesn't matter how much potato you start out with, you only use 1 egg regardless. So 1 egg, mix it in, and start to get that dough. It's all crumbly, but it's going to all come together. So get it all to come together. Just keep working it. Okay, squeeze it together. And what's happening now is the potato is absorbing that flour. Now I mentioned 38%. I would like to say 38% flour weight to potato. I would like to say if you're using old potatoes that are really dry, you could go down as little as 36% of the weight. But generally speaking, newer potatoes are moisture, they hold more water. So the 38% ratio is typically bang on all the time. Okay, so you can see we have starting to form our gnocchi dough right there. So we're just going to knead this, I'm going to say for a few minutes, because you want all that flour and potato to be uniform and consistent and forming a nice softer dough. So I'm going to do this for about 1 to 2 minutes. Okay, so it's been just about a minute. There we go. We have a beautiful gnocchi dough right there on the go. Okay, so now that we have this beautiful, beautiful gnocchi dough started, a little bit of flour, and again, that's one beautiful gnocchi dough right there. Very, very delicate. And we're going to put a little bit of flour on top. And now, this needs to rest for 20 to 30 minutes. Okay, we're going to cover it and give it a nice little rest. Our water's on, our sauce is going. Let's stuff some gnocchi. So our dough is resting nicely. There we have it. So let's take a piece of our gnocchi dough, and you're going to want to roll this out, and you might need a little bit of flour to help you along here. Okay, roll it out, and you want it a little bit thicker than normal. So I'm going to say about almost an inch, thick. You want to roll it out into like a cylinder, like a snake-like shape, and then a little bit bigger than normal. Normal gnocchi you would cut about 1 inch, so these ones will cut about, let's say, 1.5 to 2 inches. Okay, and then quite simply, flatten out the gnocchi. Flatten out those pieces. So whether you flatten them out with your hand or use the edge of your knife, whatever you prefer. Okay, so I'm just going to flatten those out. And if it sticks to the knife, just put a little bit of flour on the knife, and then the dough won't stick. Okay, so there we have flattened out dough, gnocchi dough. We're going to take a little bit of stuffing, and I have a small spoon here. It's not even a teaspoon, it's smaller than a teaspoon. So that's probably about a half teaspoon of stuffing, which might even be, that's about a half right there. And now what we want to do is roll this closed, and you want basically trying to show the camera here, basically you want the seams to be touching each other. So let me show you what I mean. All right, that one's done, but let me show you another one. Let's get that in there. All right, I'll show you what I mean with this one. So we take a little bit of stuffing inside, and then basically when you roll it over, you want these two edges to touch. You don't want to sandwich or touch the stuffing. So if you see here, the stuffing is not touched at all. You see that? And now you're able to close it up and seal it, and just squeeze it in your hand and seal it together. There, now that seal will not open up because it's sealed with itself. Okay, let me show you, let's do one more. Take this flat piece, flatten it out just a little bit more. Okay, a little bit of stuffing inside like that. And then we're going to fold that over. See, if I put too much, I won't be able to seal it on itself, but there's enough there. You see here, I'm going to now fold it over onto itself, okay, and then squeeze it together. That's it. And now I've got a good seal. That won't open up. Now, of course, I'm going a lot slower on the camera. It does take time to stuff them, but you can go quicker than what I'm doing. The key is not to overstuff. You don't want to put too much stuffing on the inside, right? Because then you'll have a hard time closing it. So you just want that nice little surprise. Nice little bit of stuffing in there. Fold it over on itself, so the dough, it's basically dough on dough, and then just squeeze it together. So the size of the gnocchi is about double the normal size. A normal gnocchi would be about half that. But there you go. And then I put them in with some semolina flour, and I toss them with semolina flour so they don't stick, and then they can just go on my tray. So I'm going to continue working and stuff all, I'm going to get this whole dough done and stuff all these gnocchis. So let me just show you another alternative way which you might find easier to stuff these gnocchi. So basically, you put your stuffing in, and instead of rolling it on the long side, you roll it on the short side. So you roll it this way, right? And now you can see here, it'll roll over and touch each other and just squeeze it together. So you might find that way a little bit easier. Show you again. Take your gnocchi dough, a little bit of filling, put the filling in, and then quite simply, right, roll it. So now you see there's no stuffing showing, and you've got dough on dough, and you just squeeze it together. So you might find it easier doing it that way. So whatever's easiest. Okay, I'm on my last one, and just taking a look at the clock here. Yeah, it's taken me about 25 minutes. Call it 30 minutes, but an honest 25 minutes, and I just took my time to make them. That's our last one right there. Toss it up. Good to go. Okay, look at this, folks. Stuffed gnocchis right there. Okay, I got our water is boiling. Let's start cooking. Our sauce is ready. I'm starting to get excited. Yes, we got a nice boil going here. Let's add some salt. Okay, give that a stir. All right. Let's get our gnocchis in. Little by little. We'll work them in there. It's nice they're not sticking together. Trying not to splash myself. Whoop, I'm making a mess. There we go. There we go. Okay. A few more. In. I should have used a bigger pot. Okay. Let's give those a stir. Now these don't take that long to cook. We got to bring it back up to a boil though, and you're going to see they're going to start to float even though they're stuffed. Okay, let's bring that back up to a boil. Not quite boiling yet, but we'll give another stir. Keep everybody happy in there. Nice. Okay, I just want you to see it's not at a boil yet, but it's almost at a boil, and they're already starting to float. So basically, once they're all floated, they're pretty much done. However, what I like to do is bring it to a boil and then let it cook for about 2 to 3 minutes. So we're almost there. Okay, there's our boil is starting. So let's lift the lid before it boils over. And now it needs about 2 to 3 minutes because you want all those gnocchi to be floating. So let's give it 2 to 3 minutes. Meanwhile, take some of our beautiful sauce. Let's get some of our sauce going. Line the bottom of our plate with some sauce just to get it ready. Beautiful. It's been about 2.5 minutes, and you can see all our gnocchi now are floating. So that means they are done. Turn the heat down a little. Let's strain them a bit. We don't want a watery sauce, but look at that beautiful, beautiful stuffed gnocchis, folks. Oh my, I love it. Okay, get that in there. Strain them more. Get all that water out. I mean, it's not going to hurt if you get a little bit of that pasta water in. It's just going to thin the sauce up a bit. And it looks like one more scoop and I'll have it all done. A little bit there. Okay. Shut that down. The last of our gnocchi, folks, right there. Stuffed gnocchi, and you can see the size of them. Bigger than typical. right. Sauce can go off. Let's add some more sauce now. Get these coated up nicely. Things are shaping up, folks. They're shaping up. Okay. Now, if you want to see how I make my classic Italian sauce, the traditional one, I will put a link in the description for you, and you could check that out because it's a fantastic sauce. All right. So let's get a little more sauce in there, and then we're going to give it a toss. Yes, let's give it a toss here. Nice little gentle toss for these beautiful stuffed gnocchis. Oh, you're talking. Oh, yes. That's looking good. Oh, my. Made with the most important ingredient, folks. A little TLC. When you make things yourselves, it's always very rewarding. Okay. Maybe a tad bit more sauce in there. I can get. Let me get a little more sauce in there. I think that looks pretty good. Next, Parmigiano Reggiano. Sprinkle some of that. Things just got better. I'll make it even a little better. Some of my homegrown chili flakes. Okay. Take a look at those stuffed gnocchis right there. That, folks, is an amazing meal just waiting to happen. And speaking of that, time for the taste test. I just can't wait to dig in. Look at this beautiful stuffed gnocchi. Okay, let's get some plated here. Oh yeah. That's what I'm talking about right there, folks. That's quite a bit actually, right there. Ah, but why not? A couple more, because I know they're going to be good. A little bit of extra sauce. Okay, you know what, folks? That right there is photo worthy. Okay, quick photo. Okay, now time for the taste test. A little bit of sauce. See all the stuff? They're a little bit bigger than your typical gnocchi. Wow. They took almost a half hour to put together, but let me tell you, worth every minute. What you have is a beautiful, beautiful, soft, pillowy gnocchi, and then when you bite into it, you get that nice surprise with that stuffing. Stuffing in there. That is absolutely delicious. This is exactly what gnocchi want to be when they grow up. Stuffed. Yes, folks, stuffed gnocchis. If you've never made them before, really simple. And just remember, doesn't matter how much potato you use. The rule is simple. Take your total amount of potato times 38%. That's how much flour you add. Total amount of potato times 3%. That's how much salt you add. And you add 1 egg, and you're off to the races. Wow. Okay. Time to call Laura. Oh yeah, there's lots there. There's probably enough here. It's easily enough for 3 people, almost 4 people. But I'm going to get myself a nice glass of wine, call Laura up, we're going to sit down and have ourselves a nice meal. Wherever you're tuning in from, I want to thank you for spending time in the kitchen with me on today's episode of Cooking with the Koyas, and I really hope you give this recipe a try. Until next time, buon appetito. Wowzer. Outstanding.